Vanessa, and my topic is enhanced interrogation. My proposition is enhanced interrogation is problematic. One of my claims would be enhanced interrogation may produce unreliable information. Another claim is no safety measures are set within the enhanced interrogation room. The definition is, according to the United Nations Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, enhanced interrogation is any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person for such purposes as obtaining information or third-person information or a confession, punishing him or her for an act he or a third person has committed or suspected of committed. Examples of enhanced interrogation is beating, sleep deprivation, water torture, threats of violence to prisoner or their family, and prolonged isolation. Some background information on enhanced interrogation is enhanced interrogation has been illegal since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, while 156 countries have signed the UN Convention Against Enhanced Interrogation. However, according to Amnesty International's 2015-2016 annual report, more than 122 states applied enhanced interrogation or otherwise ill-treated people. Some locations where enhanced interrogation is prevalent are South America to Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Amnesty names Philippines and Mexico as places where enhanced interrogation is widespread and routine in police stations. It adds that in Morocco and Uzbekistan, the country often relies on confessions people have made while being interrogated. Amnesty also cites Nigeria as where beatings and mock executions are just some of the treatments people face in detention. In a number of countries, the use of enhanced interrogation and other cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatments is accepted by many as a response of high levels of violent crime. Over the years, Amnesty International has received reports of torture and other ill treatment in prisons and detention facilities throughout the Americas. In many countries, detainees have been beaten, given electrical shocks, sexually abused, and denied access to health services. Extremely poor detention conditions, including severe overcrowding, is common. Some maximum security isolation across the USA. Many inmates are held in solitary confinement in a small cell for 22 to 24 hours a day. Many have little access to natural light or out-of-cell recreation time, which amounts to cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment. Enhanced interrogation is also used as a form of punishment against inmates to extract confessions from criminal suspects. One of my claims is enhanced interrogation may produce unreliable information. False information can be given on the sole purpose to stop put a stop to enhanced interrogation. The use of enhanced interrogation is not only illegal, but it is also poor technique that holds unreliable results and may damage the collection of information. Acquiring information can induce the source to say what the interrogator wants to hear. Results are often manipulated by the person conducting the interrogation. When the interrogation is conducted, it starts off with the least stressful interrogation method and starts building its way up till the interrogator is able to obtain the information it wants. The second claim is no safety measures are set within the enhanced interrogation room. Oftentimes, interrogators would be the only ones in the room subject to performing the interrogation they conducted without supervision, and they would be the ones setting their own rules. In the unclassified document in the committee's study of the Central Intelligence Agency Detention Interrogation Program, the CIA's Cobalt Detention Facility, which housed more than half of the 119 CIA detainees in the study, untrained CIA officers conducted frequent unauthorized and unsupervised interrogations for subjects of physical interrogation techniques that were not and never part of the CIA's formal interrogation program. The CIA placed a junior officer with no relevant experience in charge of the Cobalt, and under his command, one of the detainees was chained nude and died from hypothermia. No safety measures were being implemented to control the environment within the CIA's prisons around the world, known as black sites. My position is enhanced interrogation is problematic. One claim would be enhanced interrogation may produce unreliable information. Another claim is no safety measures are set within the enhanced interrogation room. Thank you.
All right, well, there's several things about the speech that I think start off well and should work, but there are a couple of things that where it doesn't end up following through on that promise. I think the idea that enhanced interrogation is problematic is a reasonable general purpose statement or specific purpose statement proposition for you. The idea that it would result in unreliable results, I think I like that idea too. And the idea that there isn't any precaution about how it's being utilized, that seems pretty specific to the U.S. use of enhanced interrogation, which is okay if that's going to be developed. Here's the thing that I noticed, though, and it's about the way that issues are distributed in the presentation. After introducing the subject and defining what it is, you then spend a lot of time talking about how enhanced interrogation is used around the world, and that takes up the first 3 minutes of the speech. And then you get to your first supporting point after 3 minutes of the speech, just setting things up, and there's very little information about how these results are unreliable, what problems occur because they're unreliable. It's just sort of a very general description about what goes on here again, and there's no consequence to that, and I'm not sure that you are making the argument here. Everything that came before this seems like it's a general criticism, especially philosophically and from a value perspective about these things, as opposed to the factual claim which says it doesn't work or it doesn't get us the results that we need to have. And I thought that was going to be the argument that you were making, and there's not really much there. You know, that's the point that I think is really underdeveloped. And then on the idea that there are lack of controls, that suggests that as a result, there's abusive stuff that goes on. And here you did have an example that you talked about, I guess it's the COBOL program, where there was a detainee, somebody who was interrogated who did die. You need to give us the citation on that more specifically. You gave us a general citation at the beginning, and then there's a long list of stuff that's going on. I'm not sure if it's still in that same piece of information or if it came from someplace else that describes that. And we don't know what happened to the person. I mean, it sounds to me like there were regulations in place, but they were just ignored. You know, in other words, there's one place where you say this was outside of the CIA's official interrogation policy. So you got people doing random things, then that's a different problem than the rules that apply here are problematic. And that I kind of thought that, you know, that's a slightly different argument. So you do give a general negative impression of these techniques. I don't think anybody thinks torture is a good idea, but the idea that somebody is utilizing interrogation techniques on prisoners to get information that we need to have. This is primarily anti-terrorism stuff. I think that needs to be focused on a little bit more. The stuff that Amnesty International talks about, that's primarily about the United States and solitary confinement and all those sorts of things, that sounds to me like those are not enhanced interrogation techniques. Those are criticisms of the way we're treating particular prisoners, and that's a different issue. That doesn't really seem like it's related to interrogation. It seems like, you know, somebody doesn't like the conditions but it's not like somebody is not given enough recreation to, oh, you know, that's an inherent interrogation technique, we're only going to give you an hour of exercise a day. That, I don't think that's what they're utilizing it for, so that feels a little bit disconnected. You need to connect a little bit more with the material. I mean, I could tell your disapproval because of the subject matter and the way you describe it, but you're kind of reading and you're not, you know, really engaged. And I'm not saying that you want to make it a big persuasive speech where you are shouting or, you know, yelling about these kinds of things, but you ought to seem like, holy criminy, this, we're doing this and that is just wrong, and you need to have a little tone in your voice that suggests those kinds of things. So when we talked before, I liked the arguments that you were developing on unreliable and that they're not being regulated. I thought that that's talking about the specific way that we were using enhanced interrogation for terrorists. I thought that makes sense. It turned into a broader argument, and I think, and as a result, you could refocus that argument, but you also need to get a little bit energized by it too. All right, thank you.